Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm so excited that you joined me for today's show. I'm your host, Linda Joy, publisher of Aspire Magazine, the premier inspirational digital magazine for women since 2006. I'm also excited to share that I want you to watch for the grand opening of InspiredLivingUniversity.com, where you will find the experts, the masterclasses, the mini courses to support you in living your best life. That's InspiredLivingUniversity.com. So one of the things I find comes up in my audience and my community is the topic about living authentically, living from the inside out, honoring yourself, honoring your gifts, your body, honoring every part of yourself. And I love when I meet women in my community, these divine women of wisdom who, when I land up on their website, I'm like, oh, yes, I have to have her on the show. Well, today's guest is a woman exactly like that. Joining me today is Tina C. Hines, an international intuitive clairvoyant, medium, and healer who has devoted her life's work to transforming and guiding emotionally wounded women on a journey of healing. During her 31-year career in corporate America, Tina began cultivating her gift, managing the executive offices at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, Black Enterprise Magazine, and Johnson & Johnson. She has traveled the world showing women simplistic strategies to transform their self-defeating behaviors, and using a bit of tough love, my favorite kind, coupled with deep compassion, she nudges women to start building a new relationship with happiness. Tina has been featured in the New York Times, appeared on Good Morning America, Positive Energy TV, This Needs to Be Said, and Trenton Now. But it's during her international retreats where women are educated, empowered, and enlightened to nurture their inner child and create the life they desire. Welcome, Tina.
Thank you, Linda Joy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, as we were just speaking off air, I said I really resonate with your message because I visited your site. I'm like, whoa, this is a woman that's had a heck of a journey, right, from corporate America to international intuitive clairvoyant. And when I see transformations like that in someone's life, one, I'm always intrigued by them because I've had many major transitions in my life. Where did your transition begin on that journey?
Let's see, where did it begin? I always joke and say, I was sitting at my desk minding my own business, and all of a sudden I was going through this awakening. But the catalyst of this, my own personal transformation, began when my mom had gotten sick, and I had went to take care of her. And in the midst of taking care of her, I forgot to take care of me, because you know how we go in full force. We have on our Superwoman cape and want to make sure everything is okay with our parents or our children. And while I was making sure that she was given the best of care, I wasn't doing the same for myself. And when, after spending a month and a half with her and returning home, I realized that I wasn't the same woman who left 30-plus days prior. And I felt the shift happening, and it was an area that I had never experienced before that was uncomfortable. And it wasn't until one day I went to the office and my boss asked me, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then within a click of a switch, I said, actually, I'm not fine. And it's taking every ounce of my strength to not crawl under my desk into the fetal position and just cry. And so she asked me what I needed to do, and I told her I really needed to just step away for a minute and focus on myself after focusing on everybody else. And she allowed me to do that, and I escaped to do some soul searching. And in the midst of the soul searching, I was going through a spiritual awakening, and that's when I discovered all of these amazing gifts that allowed me to serve women over the years.
It is powerful, such a powerful that your darkest days brought you to the light, right? It brought you to your truth. That is the perfect way to describe it. It brought me to my truth, even though I didn't know it was my truth at the time. I really didn't know it was my truth at the time. But, you know, in this journey of self-discovery, I had discovered that I was one of a few in my family who was gifted as an intuitive clairvoyant and a medium, and, you know, uncertain of how to utilize that going forward. But in the midst of my coming out of the depression and, you know, being kind to myself and honoring the space that I was in and doing therapy and doing meditation, I just went through this place of I'm not the only woman who has gone through this journey in some form or fashion. And I wanted to create a space of a sacred space, a space of peace where women can come and get resources and get the support they need, because sometimes our friends and family don't really understand when we go through a change like that. Oh, it's so true. And I went through one in 1991 as a single welfare mom. Really hit bottom, sitting in my car contemplating suicide, thinking my 6-year-old daughter would be better off without me. Mm-hmm. And my awakening came that day and set me off on this path that I've been on since. But for a long time, back then, people didn't understand because my outside persona was always happy and joyful, right? But my insides were hurting. So when you relayed how you felt in the office that day about curling up in the fetal position, I bet there's women right now, Tina, raising their hands, saying, oh, my goodness, I've either been there or I'm there right now. Mm-hmm. What would you say to them?
You know, it's something that we don't talk about. And what I would definitely say is the people who are around you, they've already created an image of you on your behalf. They've created that image of the strong woman, the person who has it all together. And, you know, so why would you need help? And so I definitely say connect with someone who actually will get it and talk about it and be transparent and honest about how you are actually feeling. Just like I said to my boss, I'm okay, and then to flip the switch, I turned around and said, no, I'm not. And it took a lot to be honest, because when I was being honest, that means you have to ask for help. And so you open the doorway of saying, okay, I'm not okay, I need help, who can help me, or where do I go to get access to the resources to get back to a better place? Or sometimes we want to get back to the old me. That's what I kept telling my therapist. I need to get back to the other Tina. And as time progressed, I realized the old Tina is being modified to an updated version.
Yeah, reboot.
Yeah, it was a reboot. And so, you know, find what brings you, what will bring you to that place of comfort. Someone introduced me to meditation. And through meditation, even though I disliked it initially because it just felt uncomfortable, I continued with that practice consistently. And I like to say meditation saved my life because it allowed me to truly honor every feeling that I had, good, bad, or indifferent. Journal writing. I encourage journal writing with those women that I work with, and I call it releasing the pain through your pen. And when you're writing, you can write about the good stuff, you can write about the not so good stuff, and just have those moments of reflection of this is where I was and this is where I am now. So writing is a huge proponent of the work that I do.
And I believe in that too, is allowing yourself to be as real and vulnerable on the page, because for some of us, and that was my case, I struggled with confiding in anyone until, like you, I had that moment of I need to reach out, and I did, and I got into therapy and all of that. But writing continues to really be a lifesaver for me, because you don't have to lie to a piece of paper, right? And do you notice that with your clients too? They feel it can be real. I used to burn it though right away because I was afraid someone would read it.
So someone would find it. And
yeah. Oh, I had a deep fear of that. So I would write it.
Reads it.
Yeah, and I would burn it, and then finally it took about 5 years. I'm a slow learner, Tina. I finally said, no, I want to be able to look back one day and see my growth.
Yeah, you definitely. I have books everywhere, and when they say, what if someone reads it, and I says, is there anything inside that book that's false? And they'll say no. I said, so that's your truth. And if they found themselves snooping in a place that they were not supposed to be, then they deserve to see everything they read, good, bad, or indifferent, because it wasn't for their eyes, and they know it wasn't.
Yeah, and we shouldn't have to hide our truth in any way.
Not at all. Transparency, you know, when I think about transparency, and when we're transparent with other people, we're being transparent with ourselves. It's like, you know, walking around with this air of everything is fine all the time. And so you have to remember that when you're around certain people, like, oh, I told them everything was fine, so I need to be fine whenever I'm around them. But when I go behind closed doors, it's like I can, for lack of a better word, I can come out of the girdle and I can breathe again. And
yes.
So it's just like I love when we are able to be honest with ourselves unapologetically.
Exactly. It's such a gift that we give ourselves. I think it's a key to self-care, right, and healing and transformation.
Yes, most
definitely. We're going to jump over to our break right now, and we'll be back in a moment. I'm with Tina C. Hines of tinachines.com. Be sure you swing by her website, check out her blog and all her amazing offerings. She has exceptional content there to support you in living your best life. We'll be back in a moment.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
The world is shifting. The divine feminine is rising. Women are being called to live, lead, and serve in full alignment with their feminine essence. Introducing Marsha Mariner. Marsha is a divine feminine visionary leader, licensed therapist, hypnotherapist, and carrier of the sacred feminine wealth codes. Marsha supports consciously evolving women to break free from their conditioned self, embrace their feminine gifts, and wake up to their sacred worth. By fully embodying their own beauty and magnificence, Marsha believes women have the power to collectively shift the evolution of the world. Through virtual and live sacred circles and supportive programs, Marsha serves awakening women by helping them discover their unique soul codes so they can say yes to fully embodying their sacred worth. Begin your transformational journey by visiting marshamariner.com.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth radio is conscious living for your soul. every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Hey, America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy. And today I'm with Tina Hines, and we're talking about being unapologetically yourself, real, vulnerable, showing up authentically. And with the work I do with my clients, Tina, in the audience that I serve, vulnerability is a big topic, right? They're like, but it's something you said earlier, Tina. You said, we have a superwoman cape on, and we're so used to wearing it, we don't want anyone to see that we also have things that are like our kryptonite. What do you tell those women that are so afraid to be vulnerable because they have this persona on that they think protects them, but we know it doesn't? What would you tell them?
No, it doesn't. I would honestly I'd ask them a question. If you keep walking around with this superwoman cape on, is your situation going to get better or worse? And if it's going to get better, okay, then you continue walking. But if you feel it's going to get worse, then sometimes you have to be willing, or like my better word is you have to choose to hang your cape up temporarily. You don't always have to wear it like a suit of armor. And part of the reason why we find it challenging, or better yet, why people find it challenging to help those who carry that superwoman mentality is because they don't know how to help you. You've never shown that you needed their support or their help. And so when you send up the flag and say, hey, I need some help here, they're uncertain of how to help you because you've always been the one that they go to. You've never allowed yourself to be vulnerable to show that, I need help in this area and this is how you can help me. And at the same time, we have to remember another person's response on how they choose to help you is going to be different of how you choose to help them. And so instead of saying, well, never mind, I can do it myself, allow them to help and serve you the best way that they know how. They may not do it exactly like you, but they're putting forth their best effort to help you.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because sometimes if others don't do it the way we did, we tell ourselves we're not being supported, but they are supporting us in the way they know how.
Yes, they are, the way they know how. And it's funny because a lot of times as I navigate this world, and when I recognize that there was a need for some of my clients, and I said, sometimes this isn't my area of expertise, but I know someone who's an expert in this particular area who can best support you in achieving the success that you are searching for. And I'm very clear about where my gifts and talents are great at, and I'm also clear where other people excel at it even better than I. And so we have to be willing to be open to accepting those resources when they are available to us.
Exactly. It is about being open, and it took me a long time to allow myself to receive. So with the clients that you see, you must do a lot of healing around the ability to receive, because I know that was my issue. I didn't know how to receive love, care from others, support, because I had that protective armor on. Do you see that with your clients, Tina?
Well, a lot of what I see is from the challenges of the past and the not so positive words that may have been said or the actions that may have been done that they're still carrying. And so when they allow themselves to say, okay, that happened, and I choose to no longer live there any longer, because when you still live in that space in your present, you're actually reliving a situation that only happened one time. And so with that, I'm saying, okay, this situation only happened one time, but you're choosing to relive it repeatedly. How is that going to benefit you going forward? And then it's almost like they all have this light bulb moment, like, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense to me that you said it. Like, it did only happen one time, but I keep talking about it and rehashing it. And how do I get through it and work through it? And I said you have to identify what is the key component of it. What was that piece of it that has been, I like to say, holding you hostage? And so I give them this exercise to do that some of them really dislike because they say at the end, it's going to make me cry. And I said, well, when you cry, that's when you know you've gotten it.
Exactly. It's like you hit the seed that's buried so deep.
Yes, most definitely.
I think
I always find it cute.
I love that they said, no, I don't want to cry.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe, too, I don't know if it's from personal experience or just serving the audience I've been serving for so long, is that some of us are afraid to go deep, right? It's what you were just talking about. We're afraid to, like, peel back the Band-Aid and look at the stories that are causing our pain. Mm-hmm. I ran from it for so many years, right, because it was childhood trauma and some other stuff. But I ran. Well, one day I was just so freaking exhausted. I was probably 29 or 30. I'm like, my God, this running is killing me. What would happen if I turned around and said, let's deal with this? Now, I'm not saying it was easy. It was hell.
Right. Mm-hmm.
All right. But I was exhausted from constantly being so busy so I wouldn't be alone with myself that I was physically killing my physical body, right, at such a young age, because you can only run so long, right? Do you find the same conversation or thread in yours that they're afraid to even lift up that Band-Aid?
I would say yes. The majority of time when they come to me, they are in a space of discomfort, and the biggest question that I ask them is, how long have they been holding on to the situation? And if it's been years, I then ask, what is it that is going to, how has it impacted you over the course of your years? What has it stopped you from doing, or what has it propelled you to do? And then I reflect on something I read from The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. And he talked about truth, forgiveness, and love. And the word truth is being honest with whatever the situation was. It's like opening a wound. So that wound is now closed. So you're opening the wound by revealing your truth. And then the forgiveness component of it is you're cleaning out the wound. So you're forgiving whatever transpired, whatever you did or did not do, and you're cleaning it out. You're taking all of that yuckiness out. And then the love is the strong medicine that you're giving to yourself, that you're pouring into that wound to begin to heal. Because self-love, we love hard for other people. When it comes to self-love, for some, it's a struggle. It's a big struggle.
Oh, I can relate to that one. You know, I'm good with the self-love now, but self-care and implementing, like taking time off, as you and I were discussing before. That's the thing. Taking time for self-care, which, again, feeds us on all levels, that's still an issue for me. Do you find on your own journey that you still struggle with the self-care part?
I used to. I'm getting better at it.
Me too.
I'm getting better at, I like to say, I'm getting better at being self-full.
Ooh,
and
I like that.
I'm getting better at filling my own tank because I do a lot of energy work, and I know how exhausting it could be. I know the importance of creating pockets of time where I am practicing self-care. And it goes beyond getting a massage or going to the spa. My self-care can be a variety of things. Sitting in my backyard with my feet in the grass. Sitting in stillness for an hour and turning everything off. When I have the luxury of escaping and going on vacation, making sure that I am present in that moment instead of where many of us are distracted by social media or trying to take a picture to capture that moment in time, even though it's already in our head. So I am a huge fan of self-care, of focusing and just taking moments to breathe.
That's a big one for me. For many years, it was I didn't know how to stop. Now, all the things that you named, I'm like, Linda, you do all those. And I teach my clients, even if you go outside in between client calls, this is some of the guidance I give, step outside with your bare feet, put your hand on your heart, and just feel yourself on the earth, right? That's self-care to me. Like you, I'm not one that goes and gets massages and does all of that on a regular basis, but it's the things you just described. Those are the things that nurture me. But I do them throughout the day. I don't wait for a day to do them. It's become part of me. So I got to say, I've come a long way too, baby.
I love it.
Yeah, well, it's so important, and it breaks my heart to see women struggle. And we're going to talk about this and so much more when we come back from our break. I'm with Tina Hines of tinachines.com. Be sure to swing by her website to learn more. We'll be back in a moment.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Are you being called to step into your truth and embrace your divinity? Are you ready to align your heart and soul, live an authentic life, and become a divine magnet for love and abundance? It's time to listen to your inner wisdom and clear the blocks holding you back from your best life. Leading intuitive prosperity coach, Akashic Records practitioner, and evidential medium Jamie Hearn of LiveYourDivinity.com empowers and supports spiritual women like you to align your inner and outer worlds, embrace your soul's truth, and live your divinity. Through her intuitive gifts, grounded wisdom, and empowered coaching, Jamie guides women back into sacred alignment with their truth. Visit LiveYourDivinity.com to learn more about Jamie's empowering programs and to schedule an Akashic record reading.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTRFM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hi, you're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, and with me today is Tina Hines, international intuitive clairvoyant, medium, and healer, who has devoted her life's work to transforming and guiding emotionally wounded women on a journey of healing. And today we're talking a lot about self-care, self-love, and as I was sharing earlier, it's a topic that comes up over and over again with the Aspire Mag audience. They struggle with, well, I'll speak in general. Women especially, I'm noticing, between the ages, I'd say 35 and 55, are really struggling to release the guilt about even putting themselves anywhere near the top of their to-do list. Are you noticing that too, Tina?
I most definitely am.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting that age demographic and how, they're in the 35-55 bracket, for the most part, for those who have children, they're doing everything to make sure their children are okay and that they're raising them well, and they don't have a need for everything. And all of their personal desires of what brings them joy has been placed on the back burner. So they stop doing a lot of the things that make them happy, that gives them that fulfillment. And then as the children get older and they grow up and they start navigating their own way and figuring things out, the women in that older demographic, they're started saying, okay, but what about me? And where am I in the equation? And wow, I feel like everything has just stopped now that the kids are grown and I've raised them. And I can remember several years ago doing a workshop, and I had the women in a circle. And one of the women, she was saying that, I just don't have time to myself. And her children were teenagers at the time. And I said, what's one thing that brings you joy? And she says, I enjoy playing the guitar. And I says, well, do you still play it? And she says, no. And I says, well, why did you stop playing? And she says, well, I had kids. And I said, okay, but why did you stop playing?
Exactly.
So she stopped playing, and she came up with all of the, I'm going to call them excuses, of my kid needs me here, and I have twin kids, and they're in high school, and blah, 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 blah. So all of these things. And I said, so what if you're not here? And she said, well, they're going to call or text me. And I said, no. And I went behind her. I pulled her chair out of the circle, and I said, what if you're not here?
Ooh.
And it hit her. And she said, they would have to do it themselves. And I said, yes. I said, so you're here. Allow them to do it themselves. Allow them to grow up. Instead of you babying them, you're already nurturing them and giving them what they need. But you're taking away and you're pouring from an empty cup. There's nothing left. And we continued going around the circle, and when I came back there, she said, I thought about something. My kids actually told me, Mom, why don't you play the guitar anymore? And I said, so your children were actually recognizing that you don't do enough for yourself. And in essence, they're giving you permission to do that. But it hit home when I told her, what if you're not here? They're not going to be able to text you or call you.
Exactly.
And sometimes that's the picture I have to paint for the women in order for that snap of, okay, I get it now, to go off in their brain.
Oh, I agree, because they're so, and I don't mean that person in particular, but all of us, we get into our programming. So what you did, what I saw it as, was like, wow, that's powerful. You actually gave her a zap to reboot her system and programming. Yeah. Right, to create a shift, even if it was just for a moment, to say. And I can relate to that story because my daughter's now she'll be 35 on the 29th. And I was a single mom, and I remember saying, oh, my God, you're raising a daughter. Do not raise a daughter that doesn't see you taking care of yourself. But as I said, that was a big struggle for me. Mm-hmm. Well, she was about 16, Tina. And I remember walking in one day, and she's in the bathroom, and the door's slightly ajar, and I can hear music coming out. And I just shout in and go, babe, you home? She goes, yep. She was in there with her music, a bubble bath, painting her nails, And I know to some that might be a mundane moment that a lot of people do. But for me, it said, thank goodness she's learning already. Take time to do what nurtures her soul, because I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to be that self-care model for her. And today she's a mom, of a 7.5-year-old daughter. And I love watching her ripple effect go down to the next generation. The cycle was able to be broken.
Right.
So that's just another example of why we as women have to break the cycle, right?
Yeah.
Of being the martyr. I was the martyr, right? Like, oh, no, I can do that. Do you find martyrdom is, even if they don't know that, is that something you notice also?
I notice that there are certain behaviors that are passed down, and we all have the gift of free will to decide when we want to make a change in that behavior. We learn. This is how our parents before us and before them, they teach what they knew. And what we also have to remember is at the time of where they were growing up and what was going on around them in the world. And each year there is this evolution of change, and with the individuals of what we are teaching, like technology and all that's happening now. Growing up, it was the farthest thing from my mind. I'm 51 now, so it was like it would make no sense back then. But now we have where technology is almost the catalyst for so much of the young women who are growing up now. And so we have to be open to some of the old of what we've learned and how to apply it, and then sometimes modify it to where we are in this day and age. And, growing up, I don't recall my mom or my grandmother or my great-grandmother reminding me to remember to take care of yourself. I was always observing them taking care of other people, but telling me or showing me to take care of myself was never a part of the discussion.
Same here. So we were just mirroring what we knew. And now that you brought that up, same with my family lineage. I didn't see that. I'm so grateful that I got on the healing path, and though it was perfectly imperfect, my healing journey, she saw me making positive movement towards the life I wanted. And now, she works for my company, and she's an extraordinary woman, an extraordinary mom, and, she schedules her self-care, and she doesn't miss a morning at the gym because it makes her physically feel good, she said, but it also makes her more present for McKenna. And I'm like, man, she has more insight than I did at that age because I was on a different journey, right?
Yeah.
So I appreciate it.
And when you have something that makes you feel good, you want to keep doing it.
Yeah. And the big thing is without the guilt, right?
I love that.
Because so many women go, well, I went to the gym, but, I felt so bad because, I left my husband with the kids. I'm like, and yes? Or, I should have been grocery shopping. And yes. Why do you go to the gym and say it makes you feel good, or whatever it may be for that person? But then you end the sentence with but, and then the guilt.
Yes.
I see it over and over again.
Yep. The guilt kicks in. It's funny how the guilt will supersede the joy sometimes. You can do 5 things of joy and 1 thing of guilt, and that guilt will hang over everything else. And it's just like, why can't you shift that around? Why can't you allow the joy to supersede the guilt? It's like getting all A's and B's, and you get that 1 D or C or D, and you focus on that 1 C or D. And
I can relate.
Think about that. But think about that. Growing up, when we got our report card, and you would get all good grades, but there was that one subject that you struggled in that your parents would harp on.
It became the focus.
Yes, it became the focus. Forgot all about the other classes where you did excellent in, and focused on that one class where you did not excel as well as you thought you could have.
Yeah, and then we grow up with that message of, focus on what's not right instead of what is right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I believe in focusing on happiness. I like happiness to supersede everything else that's going on in my life. I consciously say I choose happiness.
I love it. My mantra, especially with the last name like Joy, I have to live up to my my reputation, is I choose joy, ease, grace, and flow in every moment.
Mm.
And I share that with my clients. I go, it's a choice. I said, do you think life isn't hard sometimes? But I still have the power to choose how I show up in every moment, right? We all do. But it's learning that and embracing it, because that was a big lesson for me when people used to say that to me, like, well, with everything you have going on, because life happens to all of us, how are you still so joyful? I go, oh, easy. I'm choosing to be, even when all this shit is going on, excuse my language.
Nope.
But I'm choosing it. Does it mean I couldn't go down the story, follow the breadcrumbs and get caught up in the story and the drama and the pain? Of course, we all could. But we can also choose differently.
Yes.
And it's a moment-by-moment decision. For myself anyway, and it sounds like it is for you too, Tina.
Yes.
We're going to take our last break. When we come back, I want to hear some more juicy details about the international retreat you lead, the healing work that you do with women. And we'll be back in a moment. I'm with Tina C. Hines of tinachines.com, international intuitive clairvoyant medium and healer. And I'd love for you to learn more by visiting her website. We'll be back in a moment.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Inspiration for a woman's soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Healing Light, on OMTimes Radio every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Healing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
Me, a cat, moving in with a new human. It took a little getting used to. She has these weird games she likes to play, like this giant feather. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. It's almost like she thinks I enjoy it. But seeing how much fun she gets out of it, well, I guess it makes it all worth it. Humans.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. So, Tina, I notice on your site that you have a lot of offerings to work with women to help them with healing. But one of the things you're really passionate about, too, is your international retreats. And that's where you really dive deep into educating and empowering and enlightening them, women, to nurture the inner child and create the life they desire. What is it about the retreats? Is it because it's a deep dive that you see quicker transformation?
The retreats are like my baby. I love the retreats. for a number of reasons. Starting out, as I said, when I was coming out of my clinical depression, I escaped to the beautiful island of Anguilla, British West Indies, for some soul searching, because it's a quiet little island. And when I formed my business, I said, wait a minute, I want to create a safe space for women to escape and just to be present with themselves and other women who are on a journey of healing like them. And so I created the retreats to focus on mind, body, and spirit. And with the retreats, it allows us to be, again, vulnerable, because we know that we're among other women who are on the same path, and allowed us to really have discussions that would go deeper than the surface and start answering questions that we often evade. Because if we're all in one villa together, they can't run away.
True.
I'm like, you can't go anywhere. But when they arrive, I encourage them to make that one phone call home and then say, listen, I'm going to be here for X amount of days. We discussed this before I left, and I need to be present here. So they can truly be taken care of instead of always taking care of other people. So they can have fun. So they can truly, like, play with that little girl on the inside. I remember one year we were at the beach, and I was observing the ladies. They looked like little girls at that moment, and they were trying to teach each other how to float in the water. One was playing with her crystals, and the next morning when we did our meditation, I weaved in components of that experience into the meditation. And when we finished, they all opened their eyes, and the tears were flowing. They said, "Where did you get that from?" And I says, if you remember when you were a child, you would frolic in the pool or in the water, and playing with your crystals was like playing with your baby dolls. And I says, and that little girl has been waiting to come out and play. And since you've become an adult woman, you haven't allowed yourself to nurture her, to give her what she may have missed growing up. And so this was your opportunity to do that, to explore that. So now we're going to go into, what did it feel like for you? What did it remind you of? How do you incorporate more of that into your life now as an adult? And these awakenings that they were experiencing of, in the midst of that, playing with that little girl, also recognizing that there were certain challenges they had faced growing up, and how they may have hidden them under the rug or locked them in a closet, and now they were open to addressing them. Also missing their moms or dads who had transitioned, and knowing the value that they served in their lives, and how they feel that they no longer have that because they're no longer here. So there's a myriad of emotions that happens during the week. But what I love is that the focus is totally on them. They are not focused on their significant others, their siblings, their children. It's totally for them.
It's like you bring them back into their truth, slow them down, allow them to actually experience their feelings and emotions, because like so many women, they're probably always on go, go, go overdrive, and they push themselves to the side. So for some, is that slowing down? Does it bring up the uncomfortableness at the beginning, and then by the end of the week, they're like, oh, my, I need more of this?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's how it would feel.
This year, we just recently got back from Bali, and there were 13 amazing women who went to Bali. And I always know that the one interesting thing about my retreats over the past 7 years, I said everyone who comes to the specific retreat is there for a reason, for a shift that's going to transpire once you return home. And so the ladies did some, they did chakra healing, they took yoga classes, they rode elephants. They went to museums that were like more for kids, but they were playing like little kids. They were adults playing like little kids, and they were enjoying it. And then one person got sick, and the switch quit. The switch shifted so quickly that they went into mommy mode. And I noticed the energy shift, and I said, whoa, wait a minute. And so when we were having our discussion, I said to them, everyone is here for a specific reason. It may not make sense now, but eventually it will. And I said, so I want you to reflect on how you were earlier today. And then when this one person got sick, how you immediately went into nurturing mode. And I said, but I need you to come back and be present for yourself. She's going to be okay. We have people to take care of her, but you need to be present for you because there is information flowing towards you that you need to process as you prepare to go back home. And tears again, because they were like, we did do that. We actually all went into mommy mode. And it was just interesting to observe that shift, but they didn't notice it until I brought it to their attention.
Because that's their program, right?
Because that's how they were programmed, yes.
Yeah, and it sounds so beautiful. Now, in your healing retreats, how does your work as a clairvoyant and medium tie in?
So the mediumship side typically comes in if there is a loved one that has transitioned and wants to give their daughter or granddaughter or friend a message. And 9 times out of 10, it isn't like I go and say, let's see which one is going to come visit me today. They just all of a sudden make their presence known. And it's just, for me, it feels undescribable. But I can say, I have a message from your mom. And what's great is my clients understand my gift, and so they're receptive of it. This year was the first year that I actually had 3 women who had never worked with me. And so when we met, they actually said, we're afraid of what you're going to see. Just like,
yeah.
Well, I don't walk around just looking at everybody trying to read them. I said, that would be very heavy on me. I said, but if something comes up, I asked your permission to share. I don't share without permission. And so I asked your permission to share. And oftentimes I'll give them an inclination of who the person is by telling them their mannerisms or something they may be wearing or a scent that I may smell. And then they'll say, oh, okay, so this is so-and-so. And then they're more receptive to the message that's being shared. I
love this type of work. So I would be at peace that a lot of my friends are medium, Maureen Hancock and Colette Barron Reed and others. And so I'm at peace for that because I think it's peaceful. But I love that you tie it in with the empowering work that you do. Like you bring all of you to your retreats.
Yeah.
So, of course, I have to ask Tina before we come to a close, do you have any retreats coming up?
My next retreat is going to be in April of 2020. We're actually returning to Bali. We have some more phenomenal women who have said, we want to go to Bali. So I'm going back to Bali in April of 2020. Right now that is in the works. We finally solidified our location for this year. And interesting thing, the ladies who went to Bali this year, they asked me to plan a reunion retreat for them in the island where I got my healing from. And so they are going to be going to Anguilla in July of next year. But that's a private retreat for those ladies. So, and I may have some more on the horizon too.
I want to invite everyone. Make sure that you go to tinachines.com, register, claim her sacred gift, and that way you'll be notified when all the details for her transformational retreats and other offerings come to life. Tina, I am so glad that we connected and are connected now. Love the work you're doing in the world. Love your energy, just like your vibe. And I'm so grateful that we had this time together today.
I am honored that you invited me as well, and I appreciate you sharing your amazing gift of this inspired conversations to help people around the globe.
Thank you, my friend. Well, everyone, I hope to see you every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time for the live show on the OMTimes Radio Network. But at any time, you can find Inspired Conversations across all podcast platforms, including iTunes, and in the Sacred Archives on the OMTimes site. Until next time, my friends, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness. Blessings.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.